Ben and Ricco back on the scene, bringing you yet another tale of ghosts and phantoms to tickle your teeny tiny tingly ears, and perhaps your tingly eyes? That's right, we're back on this episode of I Fought the Lore, YouTube edition. And we're coming to you from Nelles Manor in Grimsby, Ontario. The house you see here has a lot of history. In fact, the house is a piece of history in the region. It's had a long life and has been lived in by many people over the last couple centuries who've come and gone, though maybe some of them have stuck around. Nelles Manor is currently a museum offering regular tours and hosting special events through the year. You can experience a variety of events, including period music, open hearth cooking, traditional teas, Mother's Day, Canada Day, and Christmas events, all within the walls of this restored historic home, which was built in the 1790s. But Ben and Ricco, I hear you calling through the tubes. Don't you two specialize in cryptids, ghosts, phantoms, and weird and strange stuff? And the answer you already know is yes. Yes, we do. And that's why we're here. We're here because this museum has reports of ghostly occurrences. Now, I have to stress that Nelles Manor is not a haunted attraction. It's a museum first and foremost. Though, as the spooky season approaches, they do hold haunted tours. But, again, this is not a haunted house. Of course, that small part of the manor's history with ghostly activity is what drew Ben and I to the location. So let us take you on a trip through time, all the way back to October of 2024. Ben and I were looking for spooky locations to visit and investigate. Be sure to check out our previous episode where we were part of a ghost hunt at Roselawn Mansion in Port Colborne, which was fun and all, but a full tour with about 15 other people is a bit much. This time we were looking for something a little less crowded and happened upon Nelles Manor. It was a group investigation as well, but with smaller amount of people to accommodate a more intimate feel. We were free to use EMF detectors provided by the location and a set of dowsing rods as well. We didn't film this investigation as the guide stated that some people on tours are uncomfortable with the prospect of being filmed, which is completely understandable, and we respected that. So we took plenty of pictures, and we did participate in using the dowsing rods, during which time we actually had a lot of activity. That night, however, our EMF detectors didn't pick up much in the way of activity itself. Ben and I had brought our own because we're pros. We also got to listen to the tales of spirits that have been said to haunt this place. As interesting and fun as that initial tour was, Ben and I wanted a little more, so we kept in contact and inquired about the possibility of holding a private investigation, and to our luck, they said yes. Fast forward through several months of issues with availability, scheduling problems on both sides, and a snowstorm or two, and finally, everything fell into place. Ben and I were able to get inside Nelles Manor with 2 reps and perform our very own private investigation. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the place, because that's important for context. The home was built by Robert Nelles for his family. Recent research shows that the land was purchased in 1791 and construction of the house was completed in 1798. According to historicalplacesdays.ca, the home is, quote, the oldest continuously inhabited home between Niagara-on-the-Lake and Kingston, Ontario. Nelles Manor was the family home for 4 successive generations of Nelles descendants, and remains standing today as a testament to Robert Nelles's wisdom and perseverance through an ambitious colonial beginning. Over the decades and centuries, the home has been continuously owned by the Nelles family, and had been broken up into rental apartments. In 1791, it was bought by the Coots family, who became the first owners of the house who were not Nelles descendants. They began the long process of restoring it from apartments to a single home again, discovering along the way that beneath the walls which divided up the home, the old walls and fixtures still stood untouched and hadn't been torn out to create the different dwellings, meaning the walls you see today are the walls of the home when it was originally constructed. The Coots family decided to give back to the community, and the house became a Heritage House Museum for the community to experience and is an independent, non-profit organization. The manor contains original woodworks, fittings, and Nelles family items. The museum's grand opening was held in 2016. Robert Nelles was born in Nelleston in New York State in 1761, and his family were United Empire Loyalists and fought for Britain during the American Revolution. After the war, the Nelles family settled in what is now the town of Grimsby, Ontario, Canada, where Robert Nelles built Nelles Manor. Now, you don't settle in southern Ontario, what was then called Upper Canada, in the late 1700s and not have a history that involves the War of 1812. And the Nelles family and house are no exception to that. The War of 1812 was fought throughout the Niagara Peninsula as the American forces pushed towards York and Kingston and were pushed back by British and Allied Indigenous forces. The manor was primarily held by British forces, but on at least 2 occasions it was occupied by American forces as well, while Robert was away fighting in different areas. From the age of 15, Robert had been part of the British military and had fought against the Americans during the Revolution. With his military background, he created and led the 4th Lincoln Militia. Robert was a businessman and political figure. In 1797, he was appointed Indian agent in the region for a brief time. In 1800, he was elected to the Legislative Assembly of Upper Canada in West York, 1st Lincoln and Haldimand, and served until 1808. He built mills and a store at 40 Mile Creek and supplied the settlement with hardware, textiles, and household goods. The family was very prosperous and an important part of the community, which is reflected in the number of places named after them that exist in Grimsby now. But why were we here again? Oh yeah, ghosts. Here we go. Now, a home that has stood for 227 years as of this recording and has continually had residents living in it, that home has seen a lot of history, including war, and experienced a lot of emotion over those years and decades. And it's bound to have had a family member or two or previous resident decide to stick around after death. And like many before us, and many who will come after, Ben and I wanted to see if we could capture some sort of evidence to support that. Which brings us to the night of April 12th, 2025. The night we were able to do our own investigation into the reported hauntings of this beautiful old historic building. 2 static cameras, Ben roaming with a 3rd camera, multiple digital recorders to place around the house, the ghost tube, because we gotta use what we could afford and that thing is free, and of course, our own keen observations. Nelles Manor's history of hauntings and ghostly activity is kind of a greatest hits of paranormal activity. EMF, EVP, sounds from the past, smells from long ago, and an apparition. Ghost hunters before us and the museum's own staff have reported many of these kind of incidents. From an article in Niagara this week, people staying in the manor have seen a soldier in red coat. That could have been Colonel Robert Nelles, who built the manor, and wore a red coat during his military service in the War of 1812. People living at the manor have also reported seeing an Indian. That's the article's word, folks, not ours. Perhaps the shade of one of those who often used to visit this historic house and sleep by the fireplace in the kitchen. The swish of taffeta skirts has been heard in the dining room at the manor too, a reminder of the ladies who lived there and served tea to their friends in the afternoons. None of these spirits were threatening, however, probably just curious about what was going on at a place that they loved and remembered. The spirits of Nelles Manor are said to be friendly rather than frightening. Visitors and staff have reported unexplained occurrences such as smelling perfume said to be a favorite of Mrs. Nelles. However, Kate Pyatt, museum manager and curator, clarified that the perfume scent likely belongs to the spirit of Miss Rutherford, who was a 4th-generation member of the Nelles family and lived in the home as well.
Can you guys smell that? I've got the perfume going in the hallway.
No, that's definitely not the same smell, but I got a whiff of it. I got a whiff of it a little bit, yeah. Now I can't smell it. Because I smell the stupid lamp, that's all I can smell.
Yeah, I don't smell anything.
No? It just all, like, the first the first experience I had here was walking through, and oh my God, it was really reeked. It was just like horrid. And it was way too strong. I said, Kate, someone want to talk to the volunteers. Not supposed to wear perfume. And she goes, there's no one else here but you. Oh my God, crap.
Others claim to have smelled the aroma of a full ham dinner, even when there has been no cooking events in the manor. There have also been reports of unusual sounds, which Ben and I experienced ourselves. Sounds including children's voices, whispers from women, and footsteps echoing through the hallways. But more on that later. Electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP, has also been reported by previous investigators. Battery drain has been an issue for others. There have been instances where fresh batteries and paranormal investigation equipment have died quickly and suddenly within the manor. And of course, there has been at least one apparition. A psychic reportedly identified a spirit as Elizabeth, a former resident who passed away in the 1800s after caring for her elderly parents. Her apparition has been seen throughout the estate, often vanishing quickly. There is a record of at least one Elizabeth having resided in the manor as well. Now, these are things that Ben and I went in knowing, but what did we really expect? In truth, we figured we'd spend a few hours in this beautiful historic museum, chat with the guides, and not really capture much. As investigators, we're only spending a few hours in a place, not days or weeks, so the possibility of capturing something, anything that might be paranormal, was pretty low. When Ben and I arrived, we set to work laying out the equipment. We remembered from our last visit in October that the kitchen is said to be the most active, and our guides this night, Mark and Kathy, confirmed this. So that was the first stop, to set up a static camera with a mic. Our second stop was the children's room on the second floor. I'd noticed a mini stroller with 2 dolls in that room during our previous tour, and I wanted to set up a static camera there to see if I could capture movement. Now, keep in mind, there's never been any report of the dolls moving, but one of them had a really cracked porcelain-looking appearance and was pretty creepy, so I figured why not. Creepy dolls are always attention getters. But unfortunately, upon review, I watched over an hour of footage of 2 dolls in this tiny stroller just sitting there. I may as well have been staring at a static image. The harsh reality of ghost hunting, folks. I can't even say we debunked anything, because there was never a claim that these dolls moved at all. We also placed several digital recorders on the second floor. One beside the regular unhaunted dolls in their carriage, one in the hall near another doll that had 3 faces, which was laying in a tiny rocking crib, and that's creepy in itself, but also not haunted, and a third in the bathroom on that floor, which is also said to be active and gives off negative vibes. We also placed a recorder in the parlor on the ground floor. Now, after we got set up, we wandered around with Mark and Kathy, and we talked. We talked a lot. I mean, we can't seem to shut up and focus. Not the most common investigation technique. One might say it's very much the way a couple of amateurs would operate because they don't really know what they're doing. But, like I said, we're actually pros, so let's just call our style unconventional, not amateur. And let's move on. So we wandered and talked, and Ben and I had our ghost tubes running with the volumes up. One of our guides, Kathy, had hers running as well, but with the volume off. Now, the ghost tube is not my favorite thing. I don't like to rely on an app with a programmed library of words that are randomly thrown out depending on, quote, atmospheric condition, or however this thing is supposed to work. But there is the occasional coincidence that piques the interest. For example...
Oh, he said, what? And I'm like, well...
Gun.
There's several in that room.
Now this room, I don't remember being on the tour last time.
So it's not on that tour. It's on our regular tour. So this is our display. Historical display.
Gosh!
Right. So we have the 2 muskets up on the wall here, and then we have several. This is a reproduction, but these 2 are actually old pieces. These 2 are reproductions as well. But we have actual grape shot, some arrowheads, So we do have.
Now, we had no idea there were period firearms in that room. On our tour the previous October, that room was not accessible to the group. We also performed a dowsing rod session this night as well, which seemed to indicate some activity. The dowsing rod session we did back in October during our first tour was far more active, though.
Are there any spirits in this room with us that wish to make contact of any sort?
Unlock it. Front door. Like the one right here. Oh, it's Kate here. Oh, she left.
She probably left it open for me. I didn't
Oh,
Oh.
this is moving.
Oh, there we go.
I am not moving that. Okay.
What was the question?
Is there anyone here with us?
I don't even want that door open
Do you wish to speak to us, to make contact with us at all?
I'll go look.
there. Okay.
Well, they both seem to be.
There you go.
Oh.
That's a
Okay.
yes.
Well, that seems like a hard yes. So we
So you
have.
can add.
I would like to say that I am trying to hold these things as still as I can. But with the way dowsing rods work, the commercial ones are L-shaped rods in a loose sleeve that you hold so they can spin freely. So the slightest involuntary movement can actually move them. Though sometimes when I knew I was shaking, the rods didn't move at all. Either way, if you are a believer in dowsing rods, this session did seem to indicate the possibility of contact.
Watching us, listening to us. We do have several cameras set up. There's one downstairs in the kitchen. There's one in the children's room over across the hall. We also have a couple of audio recording devices. If you'd like to whisper or try to make a sound in any one of those things, it'll pick you up. You could leave us a message. We'll check our messages later. We're sorry we can get you at the moment. Is that? Hopefully, that's a yes, that something will try to leave us some sort of words on one of those devices that we have already set up. Was this your room, or was it not your room? Was this your room?
That's
Okay.
That's a hard yes.
Yeah.
Reset, please.
Yeah. Well, reset. And they reset.
Just have to ask nice.
Yeah, apparently. Thank you. Were you the head of the household? The man of the home? It seems to be, the left hand seems to be trying to, right hand seems to be slowly moving as well. Reset. Not done moving. So I'm going to reset these. Nelles Manor. What was the gentleman's name?
Robert.
Robert. Reset this.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Is the spirit here Robert Nellie? What are you getting over there?
Now,
Nelles?
Nelles.
Nelles. Robert Nelles? I think I've been calling him Nellie the
that's the dog's name.
whole time.
That's serious.
Robert Nelles, is this the gentleman who's here with us?
Doesn't come out.
Well, they did move.
Oh, okay. That's.
Yeah.
Thank you. Reset, please.
Reset, please. Well, they are moving. Okay. Help you out there. Thank you, sir.
We had a ghost box with us. However, the location did ask that we not do anything overly noisy or loud. Upon reflection, we should have brought earphones and performed an Estes method session, but, like I said, unconventional, not amateur. There were a couple of other instances that occurred on site that caught our attention as well. While myself, Ben, Kathy, and Mark were in the staff kitchen, both Ben and Kathy heard the unmistakable sound of something falling and clattering. Ben hears it, but Kathy's the first to acknowledge it. The noise was barely heard on the camera that Ben was carrying, but was also picked up on the static camera that we placed in the Manor's original kitchen.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
It sounded like a button hit the floor, like a metal button hit the floor. So there was like a clattering out there.
Yeah, I heard it from there. I bet you something from the table.
It sounded like a button hit the floor, so like a metal button hit the floor, so there was like a clattering out there.
Yeah, I heard it from there. I bet you something from the table.
We were also lucky enough to be able to head up into the apartment above the kitchen, which at one point would probably have been the servants' quarters. Kathy has said that she gets the creeps in that area, so let's do this. The two rooms are small, used for storage now, but as we made our way through, Ben busted out his SLS and captured this footage. Ricco skeptic mode here. The SLS is designed to look for human shapes, which leads some to believe that anytime a stick figure shows up on screen, it must be the SLS finding a ghost. Another interpretation, however, is that the SLS looks for human figures by applying the stick figure to anything vaguely human-shaped to see if it fits. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an actual person. It's just vaguely shaped that way, which is why figures sometimes dance around. The SLS is trying to get the stick figure to fit properly and is trying to apply it in multiple ways. Having said that, this is what Ben caught.
It's kind of weird.
Yep. Nope, that's not weird.
There's somebody standing right in front of us.
Yep.
And Rick, that's not you.
Oh, wow.
You sure it's not me?
Yep.
Nope.
Because
Is that
you're
you?
coming up too, but nope, that's not as
Is that-
weird as you would think.
Is this you, Sally? You come to talk to us? Do you have something to
She-
say?
She's either sitting on the bed or standing in front of it. I can't really tell. It's just barely there. Oh, there we go.
Were you, are you recording that?
Yep.
Were you, getting some words on yours that were, religiously themed?
Yep.
I got ungodly and holy.
Yep, I did. I took a.
Yeah.
I got protector. We'll protect you. I'm scared. That comes through a lot. In Salem.
Was the SLS picking something up right around here?
Oh, now that
Picking me up.
you're
That's picking you.
yeah, but you're standing right behind where it was.
So it would have been right around here.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I thought it was near where the dress was. That's how I interpreted it.
Yep. Yep. That's how. Yeah.
But, yeah.
No. There we go.
Oh, it's just
Over the dress again.
We also picked up a lot of activity on each of our EMF detectors, particularly in the main room on the ground floor, especially around the desk area. There are no lamps on the desk and no electricity running to it or near it. Ben picked up large spikes of EMF activity specifically
Here?
near the chair and the flag and the display on the table,
Whoa.
which included letters and wax seals
Over
for
here.
sealing correspondences.
He's having a regular conversation with you.
Yeah. Is this like hotter, colder? Okay, yep, we turn that off. We get it.
I picked up some there as well, but also picked up multiple readings closer to the fireplace. Those readings were from the floor to only a few feet high, and from the space directly in front of the fireplace and continuing a few feet away towards the center of the room. The readings lasted about 8 minutes, and later, when going back to that room, they did not appear again. There were electrical outlets on either side of the fireplace, but neither Ben nor I had any EMF readings from those outlets.
There's a plug here, and then there's an electrical box in the office.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Like, you're getting that, but I mean,
But the thing is, if it's on the other side of this wall, the closer I get to the wall, I get no reading.
no, there's
nothing here.
no, the box is on the opposite side.
Oh, on the other room.
Yeah, it's on the.
Later in the evening, my ghost tube picked up several magnometer readings in the doorway between the original kitchen and the dining room, but they weren't constant and didn't repeat. My EMF detector didn't pick up either readings. Google tells me that a magnometer, or magnometer, I don't know, however you say it, which is in my phone, is used to detect magnetic fields and helps with navigation, and the ghost tube says it picks up EMF as well. After several hours of wandering and chatting in our unconventional investigatory style, we checked our cameras and recorders and noticed that several batteries had run out. So, with our time coming to an end, we packed up our equipment, thanked our hosts, and bid them a good night, because we're polite and gentlemanly. Again, spending days or weeks in a place, working there day in and day out, you tend to notice things over time. Again, Ben and I only spent a few hours here one Saturday night in April of 2025, so we didn't expect to find much upon review. However, after going through the footage over the following days, what we found was certainly compelling to us. We captured a lot of things similar to what had already been reported by previous investigators, which was pretty cool. Just before I launch into the things we discovered in our footage, let me be transparent. See what I did there? The house is still partially lived in. The third floor is a rented apartment. The museum exists on the first and second floors only. There's also a basement, but it's not accessible to investigators or tours. There's also another apartment, which is an addition off of the main floor, separated from the home by its brick wall and the home's original wall. Now, after getting that out of the way, we were pleasantly surprised to say our footage was filled with strange noises, bumps, creaks, and footsteps all abound, and what sounds like some actual voices. Now, we're going to start with the bumps, creaks, and footsteps. There were a lot of these. The skeptic in me knows that bumps and creaks are part of old houses. I grew up in an old house. It was built in the 1920s, and I live in a similarly old house now. The walls are plaster, and the heat and the cold affect the plaster in the walls, making them creak through expansion and contraction. Perfectly normal occurrences. From my observation, Nelles Manor is heated by hot water radiators, which means a boiler-style furnace, which itself can account for clicks and noises on a regular basis. The noise of thermostats clicking on and off and the sound of water bubbling in pipes can be mistaken for a lot of things by people who aren't familiar with them. I happen to be very familiar with them, as I've lived in multiple houses with hot water heating. I know the noises in my own home, and I know that they happen during colder weather more frequently. And our investigation did take place in April, and it was definitely jacket weather. The radiators in the manor were warm, so the heat was on, and I took multiple readings with an infrared thermometer. Most rooms were 19 to 20 degrees Celsius, with the exception of the servants' quarters, which was closer to 16 or 17. That room was not heated very well. But having said that, there were a lot of noises that didn't have any regularity to them. With heat coming on and turning off, I'd expect a click from a thermostat turning on, which I don't recall seeing on the second floor, but it should coincide with a creak or two a few minutes later as the heat from the radiators warmed the room and the plaster walls expanded. Here are some of the examples of ones we caught that seem to be more random than that.
Can barely walk anymore. And then other days where I'm just like I was here for several hours by myself on Thursday. But usually when I'm here by myself, my whole thing is that's where I see something.
We also discovered footsteps on the recorders we placed around the second floor. The clearest ones are heard here. Now, the obvious answer and skeptic in us says most likely these were the person who rented the apartment on the third floor. Future Ricco here to add some new information. Kate, the manager of the museum, has clarified a bit about the layout of the third floor apartment. The footsteps picked up on the recorder placed in the second floor bathroom, which we initially say were likely the third floor tenant, may actually not be them at all. Kate explained that the space on the third floor above that bathroom is actually a storage closet on the third floor. Unless the renter was pacing inside of their storage closet, it's unlikely that it was them. The digital recorders that caught these were not very expensive, but were surprisingly sensitive, and were picking up things from all over the second floor and the first floor hallway near the bottom of the stairs. So there was plenty of opportunity to cross-reference what we heard on one recorder with things we heard on another. In one case, my recorder in the children's room picked up this distinct whisper.
Okay, I wasn't sure which bed it was that, but there are wrinkles on this one and there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be wrinkles.
However, when cross-referencing that audio with other devices, we discovered that it coincides with Ben whispering in the master bedroom across the hall.
Okay, I wasn't sure which bed it was that.
But there are wrinkles on this one.
Oh no!
I guess there should be those wrinkles.
Yeah, because that was.
So when we captured other lighter footsteps on different recorders, we were able to check to see if they were captured on others as well. Here are some lighter footsteps that we were able to confirm didn't coincide with the ones we believe were from the third floor renter. Various clicks and knockings were also picked up by our digital recorders and the static camera in the original kitchen. But I'd say the three most intriguing pieces of evidence we caught that night were these. The first seems to be a voice caught on the main floor audio recorder that was placed in the parlor on a chair. As I'd mentioned, Ben, Kathy, and I were all using GhostTube. Ben and I had the volume up and Kathy had her volume off. Full disclosure, this voice occurs at the same time my GhostTube reportedly says cold. However, in listening to this clip, it is definitely not the voice that either Ben or I have set for our GhostTubes. We both use the default robot lady voice. And as hard as I listen to this, it does not sound like that voice to me, and it does not sound like the word cold. But judge for yourself. This second clip was from the same recorder on the main floor and was caught within minutes of starting it. I turned it on and placed it gently on a chair. Now, remembering that this is a museum and these are artifacts, I asked our guide Mark if it was okay to put it on the chair or if I should move it. Mark confirmed that it was fine, and at that point, a whisper is heard.
That's probably what I
That's yours.
Yes, I put this here.
No,
I didn't
that's
want to
fine.
put it on the table.
Yeah, no, it's good there. I
can move it to the windowsill if that's better.
it's mine.
This room, I liked this room a lot.
So this is where where a lot of people get.
I'm sure that that voice is neither Mark nor myself, and it doesn't make any sense in the context of what we were talking about either. Was the ghost claiming my recorder as its property since I placed it on the chair? I don't know, but we feel that the words are fairly clear and distinct. Now for the final piece we caught. In my opinion, it's the best one. And in Ben's opinion, pretty sure he thinks it's the best one too. This occurred after we had an equipment malfunction. We checked on the static camera I'd placed pointed at the dolls and discovered that it wasn't actually working. It's possible that I had just forgot to hit record. I've done that before, but when I did push record, the screen said the SD card was full. I know that was wrong because I deleted everything on the card and tested it before heading to Nelles Manor. I popped the card out and then back in, and it began working fine. Most likely it was just a technical glitch. However, after reviewing the footage, I discovered the camera's mic was turned off, and I always have the camera's onboard mic turned on. And that's as a result of a snafu I made the first time I used that camera at Roselawn. But the technical glitch, the magic mic, and possibly forgetting to hit record are not the final piece of evidence that we caught. That's not what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. After discovering the camera hadn't been working, we turn it on, we get it fixed. Ben says he wants to now go check the static cam in the kitchen to make sure it's running properly. He says this out loud to the house.
Leave this running now. We'll get at least 2 hours on it. Yeah, that was weird. I thought everything was going fine with that.
Actually, now I really want to check the one in the kitchen to make sure that's still going. Because I'm kind of nervous now.
And his camera audio picked up this. Now, coincidences happen all the time, but to us, that sounds distinctly like a child giggling.
I'm nervous now.
Was this a child laughing at us because we forgot to turn on the camera? Was it something giggling because we were having technical issues? Was it something causing technical issues to mess with us and was laughing at our confusion? Was it another thing that didn't happen to have anything to do with the paranormal at all? We don't know. We cannot figure out what that is after cross-referencing it with Ben's footage from his camera, my audio footage from that same room that was running and working properly, and cross-referencing it with the audio recorder placed in the hallway just down from where we were. That giggle only appears on Ben's video footage does not appear on either of those two audio devices. So we have no idea. But the fact that we captured not just random knocks and creaks and footsteps, but 3 seemingly distinct voices during this investigation, we feel is pretty awesome and pretty incredible. And that's it. Our night at Nelles Manor turned out to be enjoyable and very intriguing. We'd like to thank Nelles Manor, Mark, Kathy, and Kate for this opportunity to investigate this beautiful historic manor. If you're a fan of history, of the unexplained, or both, we encourage you to stop by for a visit yourself. This is Ben and Ricco signing off for this very special YouTube edition of I Fought the Lord.